So start by opening up Procreate from your app, and then when you hit this plus sign, you will see that you have a lot of choices. You're making an 11 by 14 inch poster, so you'll open up the create a canvas, custom canvas. So I did that right here. It was this little icon. And then I need to change where it says pixels to inches. And then for the width, we're making that 11. And for the height, we're making it 14. So we know that it's 11 by 14 inches. 300 DPI is fine. We are going to print these. So if you want to, if you, for instance, raise the DPI to 400, you'll see you have less layers. So keeping it at 300 is a good idea. 34 layers is fine because sometimes you'll be flattening the layers before. And then just to look at these real quick, there's a background color. We don't want to hide the background right now. You can record yourself while you're making your video. It does it for you. It creates a time lapse. Color profile, we're going to keep that here. And dimensions we just set. So then we hit create and we have our poster blank. As we talked about in class, you could do a poster that is portrait, orientation, or landscape. So this is landscape this way. So it's wider than it is tall. And then to undo the writing or whatever it is that you did, you take 2 fingers and tap on the screen. So it will undo everything as I tap, or I can do 3 fingers and bring it back. That's a nice thing about Procreate. You can keep undoing, and then you have portrait. So if you can imagine, this is, the traditional way a portrait is taken, your school portraits. And then I just tap to undo. Now, if you are making a time lapse, it will record everything that you do. So you can always edit the video. It's always nice. So here, if you click, you'll see that you have right now a background color, which is white, your blank layer, and then this plus sign allows you to add layers. This little box will allow you to toggle the layers on and off. And then this right here are layer properties. So we will be using this opacity quite a bit. So I'm going to take away this layer right now just so that we're starting clean. And the videos that I have posted show you how to start your poster with a photo. So before I get to showing you bringing in a photo, I just want to give you a pointer about sketching. So another thing for you to explore, under the brush icon are all of these brushes. There's so many different ones. You can actually almost make your own brushes too, which gets a little advanced, but we can always get into that. And then also there are a lot of videos online about that. I either will choose drawing or sketching for doing exactly that, sketching. I like the 6B pencil. You can see how big the pencil gets here. This is the opacity. This is to choose a color, which we don't need to do right now. We already have a color here. When I do sketching, a lot of times I'll use red. And the reason for that is unless my picture has a lot of red in it, I feel that it stands out really well on any other image. This isn't, you could do this with whatever color, sometimes orange or red. It's nice and bright. And then you can just think about your layout for your poster before you start thinking about composition. So remember, when you divide something down the middle and here, in either direction, you might find that it, for a poster, you would like something symmetrical. So maybe the center point is in the middle and you are radiating out from the center. When you're working in photography or in drawing or painting, you may employ the rule of thirds. So that says that, I'm undoing all of those, that you divide your composition in thirds, both directions, and then you put your focal point where these lines intersect. So, and that can create a more dynamic composition. For this assignment, I want you to think about composition, but it isn't the main thing that we're focusing on. We're focusing on imagery and words together, and keeping it simple. And that's one of the reasons to use Procreate. So getting started with a photo. So let's say I know I'm going to use a portrait orientation. I know I want words in the top third of the image. So this is where my text is going to be. This is where my main image is going to be. And I'm going to make some decisions about down here once I get my photo in. So to add a photo, you go to this wrench icon, and then there's a few different options. You're going to insert a photo. If you have a photo that isn't a JPEG, is not in your camera roll, then you can do it as a file. You can also take a photo with the camera of the iPad. You can add text here. You may be adding text, or you may be drawing your own. So I'm going to insert a photo, and then I'm going to my albums. And I have some images that I pulled just for this assignment. And I'm going to try to keep this demo simple so that the other ones are a little more complex. This is a photo I took of sunflowers, and I'm going to make a sunflower that is blocked, like color blocked. That's what I like to call it. So I have my inserted image here, my original layer. I can put this layer, I'm pressing and holding and dragging and putting this on top. And this is where you can see that sometimes the red works, sometimes it doesn't. But we're actually going to take this image and use an eraser. So you have your paintbrush. This is a blending tool. Different brushes go with that. And then an eraser. You can choose the brush that you use with the eraser. Oftentimes when I'm erasing large areas, I will use the airbrush set, which is right here. And then over here, you can make the airbrush really large. That's one of the reasons I use it. And the opacity I need at full strength, because I'm going to erase everything in this photo that I don't need. If I end up wanting other parts of it, I can always reinsert it. So I'm not losing anything. Really, this is a reference photo. And when you use photos for this assignment and most of your assignments, you want to think of them as reference. We're not making copies. We're using the photo as an inspiration. So you could draw from life as well, but if you don't have that option, then you can bring in the photo. I take a lot of reference photos just to keep in case I need them. And so then I'm going into the layers and I'm lowering the opacity of this. Actually, before I do that, I want to show you one other thing. If you go to your color palettes and you choose this plus, you can create a palette from a photo. So I can do new from photo. I can go to the photo I just used, and I can make a palette that is designed from that image. So that's this palette right here. And you can also tap on these and you can rename them. And then I don't have to keep going back into the photo. If for some reason I want to just pull a color from a photo or something on my screen, if you press and hold on it, it'll choose the color. You can see the color changing up here. So I'm pressing and holding, pressing and holding. So now I'm going to choose my main petal color. I can always change them later, but now I have that over here. And then the next demos, the other demo videos, get more into this. So don't feel like you have to be able to do everything after you see this video. But the next, I'm just going to show you how to switch brushes, and then you can go to the next videos to really see how to color block the picture. So I added another layer that's in between my planning layer, which I'm going to hide right now, and my inserted photo. And I'm going back to the inserted photo and I'm turning down the opacity. Because if I try to pull a color now from here, it's going to come up as a muted color. So the photo is really just there for reference, for size, for proportion. And then I'm going back to layer 3 and I'm going to click on the brushes. So there are a lot of options. I encourage you to try many of them. You can draw with just the pencil. If you click on a brush and you click on it twice, it will open this for you. And then you can try brushes out. You can clear this drawing pad and try different things. So for a brush like this, there are a lot of options. And this is where if you make settings on a brush, you can actually save it as your own brush. So that's kind of a whole other option. For the purposes of this assignment, the brush that I use and showed most in my other videos is monoline. The reason for that is, if you notice, it doesn't taper, it doesn't get thinner at the ends. It stays pretty consistent, and most of the brushes don't do that. So monoline tends to be my go-to. Airbrush gets softer at the edge. You can change those settings. And then sketching, most of these also taper. The taper can be edited, like I said. This Narender pencil also is more flat on the edges. So things to look for. And then for my monoline, for this, I turn the stabilization down. If you have higher stabilization, the line will smooth out for you. I don't need it to do that right now, so I'm going to keep it here. And then I need it to be kind of medium size. And then I'll zoom real far in, and then you can start drawing on top of your image. And really, this is for reference. So what you draw on top does not need to look exactly like what's underneath it. In order to make shapes that can be colored completely in, they have to be closed. And then you can take the color and drag it into the shape. If you drag it and it's not closed, it'll fill in your whole image. So you just undo that. So once I fill these in, you'll see in the next videos what to do next. So I won't continue to do this. Actually, I think what I will do is open one for you that is already has multiple layers. So you'll see a video that shows the beginning of this image. This image has a lot of layers. It has multiple layers for the faces, multiple layers for the text, and then I have all of the flower layers that you saw me draw in the other video. When you're ready to export an image, you don't have to flatten it. In fact, I encourage you only to flatten the layers when needed. So for instance, in this one, I don't know what's this. This layer isn't anything. So to flatten layers, you actually pinch them together and then they become one. If you want, you can undo that by tapping with 2 fingers. But when you go to export it, you click on the wrench and you choose share. And then you can export it as a JPEG. You can export it as a PDF. You can export it as a Procreate file so that somebody else can work on it in Procreate. And then if you choose to export your animations, you can export those as GIFs or regular MP4. Is the warp tool, or to resize an image. So I'm going to go onto my inserted image. Let's just turn that back up. And maybe I don't want this straightforward flower. Maybe I'd like it to look like it's tipped. So you can kind of construct your image this way. So you choose this arrow tool, and then there are a variety of different things. If you use freeform, you can resize it, you can turn it, you can squish it. If you use uniform, it's only going to change size or turn. Distort does exactly that. It allows you to distort it. Warp is the one I like the best. So you choose warp and you choose advanced mesh, and then you can actually make this look like it's sort of tipped from the top. And maybe I want to put a stem coming down. So this flower is going to kind of look like it's like draped down, and this is the top. And or erase around it. That has happened to me, where I've spent a lot of time drawing something and I'm on the wrong layer. So then I can start to create these petals. Another useful tool might be, as I create these, maybe I know I can duplicate and not have to draw every single one. So then another great use of the warp tool, I can warp these around. So you are drawing, but you're drawing based on shape. So you're making the drawing and then you're using your time to construct it.